Welcome back to the Real Brain Wrap, where we unwrap trends and social progress in media. I'm Greg.
And I'm Ty.
And you're watching the show I just mentioned. In alternate reality, I said that better. In alternate reality, I said that better.
Just one, though.
Just one. It's the cowboy one.
Today we're going to unwrap the multiverse and the origins therein.
There's a few other authors we should like to mention, like H.G. Wells. For those of you who don't know, H.G. Wells had a book called The Modern Utopia and The Time Machine. And The Time Machine, that one, it kind of applies to the multiverse.
The only reason why it's relevant is because it's time travel, and sometimes multiverses and time travel go hand in hand sometimes. Yeah. And the only reason it's really relevant that he wrote The Time Machine is because it's kind of an example of the recurrence paradox, or the cyclical universe, multiverse, where he keeps going forward and he keeps winding up in different points in time but technology has advanced in this way, or it's regressed in this way, or things like that. It gets expanded more in that episode of Futurama where they literally do that over and over again, because in The Time Machine, I don't think he thought that far ahead of like getting to that point in the story of actually repeating a Big Bang or something like that. But in the Futurama episode that is doing the same thing as The Time Machine, they literally keep going through Big Bang after Big Bang, and
because they can't go backwards.
Yeah, because they can't go backwards.
Yeah.
And so it's like, that's the only reason why The Time Machine is really relevant. It's because he was dabbling in these ideas.
Right.
Modern Utopia is way more relevant because it's actually about an alternate universe, an alternate Earth that exists, where it's more of a just straight up utopia where only imports for the entire planet are meteorites and there's no exports, and so they just are full profit, apparently.
Yeah.
I was like, it's very strange, but your two protagonists of this story wind up somehow landing in this other universe. So they're from basically our universe, and they wind up in this other one that's more of a modern utopia.
Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
Very similar to Jules Verne in the way he was touching on other worlds that are outside of time.
Right. Lost World.
But it's still not multiversal.
No.
It's just all getting there.
There was a comics series that started in like 1936 called New Worlds. Future Science Fiction, I think it was called.
Future of Science Fiction. I think that's right.
It a lot of times talked about, going to different planets, yes. Living on Venus, people who are colonizing Mars, stuff like that. But also, eventually,
Michael Moorcock started writing for New Worlds because it was kind of done. They were kind of done with what they were doing with it, and then he picked it up. Him and his collaborator. I don't remember his name. I'm sorry. They picked it up and they rebooted the magazine, essentially, and they started writing a lot more about multiversal stuff, because Michael Moorcock was all about multiverse stuff. It's really fascinating when you start looking into his works.
Well, not just that, but I do find it fascinating that in 1963, yes, Michael Moorcock did write about multiverses and stuff like that, but when we started looking into other works, we noticed DC's first introduction to the multiverse,
1961,
The Flash.
Flash of Two Worlds.
Flash of Two Worlds.
There we go. Flash of Two Worlds.
In 1962, Marvel jumped on that bandwagon,
like they always did,
with Johnny Storm and Strange Tales.
Yes,
and with their introduction to the multiverse.
Weird that Johnny Storm was the first Marvel character to travel through different dimensions, right? Of all the ones.
Philip K. Dick wrote Man in High Castle, which the show came out much more recent, but the actual book itself, talking about parallel universe, multiverse, came out in 1962.
So it's like a lot of these people with this ramp up that we're talking about were, still scientists or theorists. You had Schrodinger in the 1950s, Hugh Everett also in the 1950s. And then in 1963, you start having Michael Moorcock's version of the New Worlds comics.
Yeah. It was just fascinating how much he's actually influenced I feel like the multiverse.
At least the fiction side.
Yeah.
Right? Because he created a whole new style of science fiction that was called New Wave science fiction. I don't think that they changed the name of the magazines to it, but they considered it. Many of Moorcock's short stories, novels, novellas, the works in the comics that he was making, many of them had to do with multiverses. And in fact, many of them were connected to each other. You can get collections of his works that are all the ones that are supposed to be connected in Michael Moorcock's Multiverse. There's a book that they published later on called Michael Moorcock's Multiverse.
And in fact, the characters he used actually became quite the archetype and almost like a connected character. They were called the Eternal Champion, right?
Yeah, the Eternal Champion, which was one of his books.
Yeah.
The title of one of his books as well. But the Eternal Champion was just a character that would appear in many of his stories, and it would be different versions from different realms and different worlds and different universes, but they would always be connected in some way. They were always a protector of the bindings of the universes together. If anything was going wrong with the fragility of the universes, they were the ones that were supposed to protect it, even if they didn't know that's what they were supposed to be doing.
Right.
They were still compelled to do it. The different universes have a different version of it, but he's imbued by the powers of the Black Sword. Different versions in the different universes, it might be represented a different way, but it's still the Black Sword. They'll often be accompanied by a companion as well.
Who is either just friendly or romantically friendly. Also, by the way, just to slip this in there, Michael Moorcock also wrote for Doctor Who, like a novel.
He wrote a novel of Doctor Who. The novel that he wrote for Doctor Who, the one that I remember at least, is one where one of his many JC named characters, who is supposed to be, I think he's one of the Eternal Champions.
One of many Michael Moorcock's JC character names.
Yeah. Meets the Doctor.
He kind of throws his own work into there.
And it's really fascinating because all of this stuff that he was writing back then is like with the Eternal Champion and the companion and the like magic item that he can use to do whatever he wants, basically.
Yeah, like a screwdriver.
Yeah, like a screwdriver. It's really similar to the Doctor, and that's because they essentially absorbed these archetypes from his works, like, because he created these archetypes.
Yeah.
Not created, but he popularized them, maybe. This is a random side thing as well about Michael Moorcock, is that he also collaborated with several prog rock musicians from the 60s and 70s and wrote lyrics for their songs, and because he was dealing with this weird sci-fi stuff, and prog rock musicians of the time were singing about a lot of weird sci-fi stuff and fantasy stuff, and so Hawkwind,
Blue Oyster Cult.
Blue Oyster Cult.
The lyrics of the songs he helped them write were about multiversal things.
Yeah, most of the time, or some of the time,
yeah.
yeah. But just a little side piece for you. That's just how influential Michael Moorcock's multiverse was.
Yeah.
I was like, I really want to call him the father of the multiverse idea, but I'm probably going to be wrong about that. Someone is going to comment in the comments, and actually, the father was this.
Well, I hope so, because I want to know that.
I want to know that. Let us know.
Anyways, this has been The Real Brain Wrap. I'm Greg.
I'm Ty.
Please follow us on Instagram at OBNooT, OBNOOT.
And tune in next time when we'll be talking about broccoli. Maybe.
Is that the universe we're in right now? The broccoli talking universe?
Could be. Could be the trend we're talking about. I don't know.
Yeah. Tune in and find out.
Tune in and find out.
Very disappointed.
Yeah, you'll be probably very disappointed if it is actually broccoli that we're talking about.
Or if you turn in, we're not talking about broccoli, but you're really hoping for it. In that case, go watch Sausage Party.
Don't watch Sausage Party.